We're live. Candice Malcolm here with True North, and we've got breaking news. Andrew Scheer, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, has resigned. He is no longer going to be leader once they select a new leader. This is coming out of a meeting that Andrew Scheer had with the Conservative caucus this morning in Ottawa. So lots to break down. Decided to go live. I just finished actually recording my podcast for the day. So that's going to come out a little later. It's going to be a little dated because of this huge bombshell news. And honestly, I'm surprised. I'm surprised because it seemed like Andrew Scheer was just starting to fight back. He had a little bit of sign of life, like he actually wanted to lead the Conservative Party. I guess not. I guess he's had enough. He doesn't want to fight back. And so that's that. Let's go through what we know so far. So Brian Lilly over at the Toronto Sun tweeted about half an hour breaking from a top Conservative source. Andrew Scheer will resign as leader once a new leader is selected by the party. Details to come. That came at 11:37 Eastern time this morning. And then shortly thereafter, the Globe and Mail, Robert Fife over at the Globe and Mail posted that Andrew Scheer resigns as Conservative leader. The Globe and Mail says Andrew Scheer has decided to resign as Conservative leader after a disappointing election loss, facing internal party divisions over his ability to lead the party, sources say. Mr. Scheer called a special caucus meeting Thursday morning where he announced he was stepping down. The decision comes after former Conservative cabinet minister John Baird tabled a highly critical report of the party's election campaign to Mr. Scheer's office on Wednesday. So Globe and Mail is saying that it is because of a disappointing election loss. John Baird, who was a former foreign minister under Stephen Harper, tabled a report that was critical of Scheer. And so the Globe and Mail is reporting that it is over Scheer's election results, which, to be honest, I wouldn't say that it was, the desired outcome of most conservatives in this country, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. So that's what the Globe and Mail is reporting. Now, Global News, Mercedes Stephenson and Amanda Connolly over at Global News are pointing to something totally different. Which is that Conservative Party leader Andrew Scheer to resign imminently over a scandal. His resignation comes as a direct result of new revelations that he was using Conservative Party money to pay for his children's private schooling. Private school. So he was paying for his children to go to private school using party funds, according to Global. Senior Conservatives say the expenditures were made without knowledge or approval of the Conservative Fund Board, including the chair of the board. So that is a pretty serious allegation over there at Global, if true, that Andrew Scheer was using party resources improperly. And if that is the case, wow, he absolutely needs to go. He probably needs to step down as MP as well. So pretty huge news out of Ottawa today. Still putting pieces together. This is breaking news, so we don't have anything confirmed, just a bunch of news stories. Global News, Globe and Mail, and the Toronto Sun are all reporting that Andrew Scheer has stepped down. And so, it's kind of too bad. I've sort of been one of the people who's been defending Scheer lately because I think that the Conservatives are better united. I think he ran a decent campaign. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And I think he had potential to grow. But there was really it was apparent that Andrew Scheer didn't really want the job. He was not really fighting back, throughout the campaign. There was a lot of media criticism against him. And he didn't really fight back. He didn't punch back in the way that a lot of conservatives would have wanted to. He didn't answer the questions as clearly. The media were obsessed with the issue of his personal social conservative Catholic values. And he didn't really stand up and articulate those values and how they would differentiate, from his personal life to his role as someone governing the country. And then when there appeared to be fractions within the party, there was a couple of different movements from conservative factions saying, Scheer's got to resign. It's time for Scheer to go. We didn't really see him stand up and punch back. And I think that really showed that, to me, it showed that Andrew Scheer just didn't want the job. He didn't want the job. He wasn't willing to, make those speeches to unite conservatives together under one tent. He wasn't willing to take a stand and stand up to people who were criticizing him. And I spoke to an MP. Off the record, but I spoke to an MP who told me that Andrew Scheer hadn't even made phone calls to all of caucus. So typically, after something like an election, the leader of the party will pick up the phone and call every MP that got elected and, have a call to bring them all together. Apparently, Andrew Scheer hadn't even done that. He hadn't even phoned his entire caucus after the election, to welcome new MPs and to talk to existing MPs about what his strategy was. So again, it kind of seemed like he didn't really want the job. And if these spending allegations are true, that is a big scandal, and that's totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable to be using party funds, obviously, to pay for a personal expenditure like your children's private school. So, don't have much more, information at the time. I'm not exactly sure what will happen. It seems like Scheer will stay on until a new leader is selected. The Conservatives will have to, again, basically start from scratch with a leadership selection. It puts them in a pretty vulnerable situation, given that there is a minority parliament. If I were the Liberals, now wouldn't be a terrible time to call another snap election, because the Conservative Party is in disarray. Voters are going to see that, and they're going to, wonder how could you possibly put your vote behind a Conservative. So it could potentially give the Liberals an opportunity to get a majority. Starting a leadership race, it's a big undertaking, and it's not like there's really a leader in waiting. It's not like there is a person who is obvious to people in conservative circles. That person should be the leader. That was part of my concern as well, with all the criticism of Scheer and people calling for Scheer to step down. It's hard to imagine who would really step in. Someone on Periscope is saying only Maxime. Well, Maxime Bernier is a very polarizing individual within the Conservative Party. I mean, his electoral outcome, wasn't exactly strong. And I think that was because a lot of Conservatives just didn't want the party to be split. They didn't want to lend their vote to another party. And so, yeah, Maxime Bernier did the strongest after the last leadership, especially on the first ballot. But, I can't imagine him being welcomed back into the party and taking it over. And I have no idea. I don't know if it's going to be the same crop of individuals who ran last time against Andrew Scheer are going to run again. Someone else on Periscope is saying, "How about Rona Ambrose?" I like Rona. She's a strong Alberta voice. Although I will say on election night, it was kind of painful to watch her basically apologizing for being a Conservative and bashing other Conservatives. Looks like we lost our feed over on Facebook, but I'll continue for Periscope. Again, I can't imagine. I don't know who it's going to be, and I worry that whoever it is will be polarizing in a different way. If it's someone from, people talk about perhaps Peter MacKay. Peter MacKay is not exactly well liked in the western part of the country, and I worry about, again, the party splitting up. So, again, to recap, Andrew Scheer has resigned. The Globe and Mail is reporting that it's over his election loss, and a report that John Baird tabled to his office on Wednesday that talked about how bad the election was. The Global News is reporting that it's over a scandal involving Andrew Scheer using party funds to pay for his children's private school. My own reporting shows that Andrew Scheer just really didn't want the job. He wasn't willing to fight back. He hadn't even bothered to phone all of caucus after he was elected. And he just didn't have the fire, didn't have what it takes to fight and win. So I'm going to leave it at that. We will continue to update you with more as it comes. Check out tnc.news for the latest.